What's up, guys? Welcome back to the After Work Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about, well, of course, Donald Trump, because he's been in the news a lot, but also the co-creator of Rick and Morty, Justin Roiland. And we're going to be talking about a new article that came out about the Uvalde school shooting, as well as, a couple other smaller articles involving police as well. And today we are going to be drinking and smoking because it is after work. Alrighty, guys, let's jump right in. Alrighty, guys, well, we are back, and today we are going to be drinking Bluff Springs. It is 45% alcohol, so 90 proof. And, of course, we're going to be combining it with the Texas state drink, Dr. Pepper. And if you don't think it's the Texas state drink, you can bite me, okay? Now, we are also going to be smoking a good cigar over here. It is the Rocky Patel Sun-Grown Petite Cordana right here. It's I believe it's a medium here. I want to say it's a medium to dark. I'm going to go ahead and light this bad boy up because I let it go out because I had audio issues and I was trying to get it to work, and, well, you can see. So we're going to light this up. All over my desk. No. Bad cigar. Anyway. Okay. Not the best, but also not the worst that I've had. So. Alrighty, guys. So, today we are talking about, Donald Trump. So let's get right into it. So a 2018 letter shows that Michael Cohen lying to the feds about Stormy Daniels' payment, at least according to the New York Post, right? So it says, let's bring this up for you guys here. So it says, right here, newly surfaced letter from 2018 shows Michael Cohen lying to federal election officials about his infamous $130,000 payment to the porn star Stormy Daniels. In it, Cohen told the commission that he used his own personal funds to facilitate a payment of $130,000 to Miss Daniels. He said, neither the Trump organization nor the Trump campaign was a party to the transaction with Miss Clifford. Neither reimbursed Mr. Cohen for the payment directly or indirectly. But about 6 months later, he changed his tune, copped to a plea to a laundry list of these federal crimes, including making an excessive campaign contribution to Trump by paying her to keep quiet about the 2006 alleged affair, right? Now, Trump denied it, right? And as part of the guilty plea, Cohen admitted that he used a newly incorporated shell company to pay Daniels, then sought reimbursement from the Trump organization for the full amount, plus a $35 wire fee, and another $50,000 for tech work, right? The total was doubled for tax purposes, and Cohen also received the $60,000 bonus, with the full amount of $420,000 paid to him in monthly installments for which he submitted invoices. Now, the New York Post is framing this like Cohen lied about it being his own money that he paid, and then later told the truth. I think it's the other way around. I think that he lied when he made the plea deal, saying that it was all on Trump, because that's what got him the plea deal. Now, picture this. You're a billionaire. You run tons of businesses. You have so many legal problems. You hire a lawyer. You don't want to do anything because, well, you've got so much other stuff on your plate and to think about. So what do? You hire a lawyer and you tell them, hey, take care of whatever it is that I need taken care of, right? I don't need to deal with this. I want you to deal with it. That's what I'm paying you for. And I'm paying you handsomely. Millions of dollars a year, perhaps, right? Because, I mean, that one invoice he said was for, what, $420,000? And that was for, what, like one or two things maybe, right? So you've had this lawyer for a little while. He sends you invoices for many things, right? Well, this lawyer has a ton of things he has to do for Trump, right? Between making, businesses. Say Trump is like, hey, I want to open a business. I need six LLCs created in this state, right? Here, do it. Lawyer's got to do that. He's got to go through, create these businesses, and I'm sure that's not the only thing he was doing for Trump. He probably has a ton of other things. And then this Stormy Daniels thing comes up, and he's like, look, I don't have time to deal with this. I don't really want to deal with this. Trump's running for president. This could hurt him. I don't want to deal with it because of all the paperwork involved, blah, 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 and going through the right channels. Let me just, $130,000 is nothing for me. And because I'm, paying it out of my own money, I'll just charge Trump later and say, hey, it was part of the legal fees or whatever, right? So he pays her off. Unbeknownst to Trump, because Trump's got better shit to do, right? He's not paying attention to this crap. Lawyer comes in, all right, pays her off. Then he gets caught. Later on because everybody hates Trump and they're trying to get him on literally anything. So they go after Cohen and say, hey, why'd you do this? Maybe he did something illegal, but Trump had no idea about it because he paid this lawyer to take care of his problems. Didn't really care how. And if the lawyer does something that's, illegal or, not the proper way, that's on the lawyer, right? So Trump doesn't know about this because he has no real reason to. And the lawyer pays off with 130 of his own money because he wants to get with Trump to the White House, and he wants to assure that happens by helping him, by sweeping this problem under the rug. So, yeah. And then when he gets caught, he expects Trump to, help him out. Be like, hey, look, I did this for you. I need you to get me a lawyer or, help me stay out of prison. But Trump, on the other hand, is like, why would I do that? I paid you to do a job correctly. You didn't. You didn't do it above board or whatever. And then you ended up, where you are. And that's your fault, not mine. I have nothing to do with it. So why would I help you out? And so, now that he doesn't have the backing of Trump, he's looking at serious jail time. So what's he going to do? Well, he's going to turn on Trump. He's going to say, hey, I know you want Trump. I know you want something against Trump. So why don't I just give you him? Makes a plea deal. Changes his story. Exactly. So that's my point. Because this letter is basically saying Trump had no idea about any of this. Aside from maybe, Stormy Daniels being a problem and him going, okay, Cohen, fix it. He has no idea how or why Cohen did what he did. Nor does he really care. But they're trying to get Trump on it. To me, this whole thing is just ridiculous. First of all, it's political prosecution because, well, dude, I think the statute of limitations ran out. I mean, this was so long ago. I mean, it's 2016? Yeah, so about 7 or 8 years. And now you want to go after Trump for that? All they're doing is just trying to keep him from running, right? And look, I would prefer another candidate over Trump, who's not so arrogant, full of himself, bombastic. I like Trump. but I would prefer maybe like DeSantis or something like that. But with that being said, I, it, you can't let this happen. You can't politically persecute the people you don't like just because you don't want them to run for president over something that, I mean, unless you got proof that Trump knew about it, come on. So, in my opinion, this is all just a ploy, ploy by Cohen to make a plea deal, so that way he didn't spend a ton more time in prison and give them what they wanted, because that's what they wanted, was something to get Trump on. So, but this letter that came out, I mean, just it kind of blows that out of the water now, doesn't it? Speaking of innocent until proven guilty, in the case of Trump, which again, I think I think he didn't really know anything about it. Justin Roiland, the co-creator of Rick and Morty, the one who voices Rick and Morty, kind of the most important person for the show, right? Well, let's get into that one, shall we? As many of you know, Justin Roiland was accused of bad things at home. Now, here's the problem. There was no proof, it was just allegations. And he was removed from contracts with Comedy Central. He had to step down from his gaming company, Squanch Games. He lost so many opportunities just on the allegations. Nothing had gone to court. He hadn't been convicted. Nothing of the sort had happened yet. And that's important because as of, I want to say it was yesterday, he is innocent. Rick and Morty creator, bad things at home charges dropped due to lack of evidence. And his life is flipped upside down because of it. Now, here's the thing. Am I saying that something did not absolutely happen? No. I'm not saying that at all. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. But for the purposes of living in the United States, everyone is innocent until proven guilty. So in my eyes, he is 100% innocent, because that is the tenets of this country. That is the tenets of what we live by. Innocent until proven guilty. They didn't even have enough evidence to take it to trial, let alone if it went to trial and he was, found innocent or whatever. It didn't even make it to trial because there wasn't enough evidence to even take it that far. But of course, he lost his job, right? So he was accused of corporal injury and false imprisonment against his ex-girlfriend. But on Wednesday, California dropped the DV charges against Roiland, who created the series Rick and Morty, and provided the two main character voices. They said the two felony counts involving the former girlfriend were dropped due to lack of sufficient evidence beyond a reasonable doubt. And Roiland responded on Twitter. He said, "I've always known that these claims were false, and I never had any doubt that this day would come. I'm thankful that this case has been dismissed, but at the same time, I'm still deeply shaken by the horrible lies that were reported about me during this process. Disappointed that so many people were so quick to judge without knowing the facts, based solely on the word of a bitter ex trying to bypass due process and have me canceled." And she was successful. And that's the thing. This happens more often than we would like to admit. Mattress Girl, for instance. I mean, this guy is wildly successful. He created a hit show, Rick and Morty, but he also created another show on Hulu, I believe. It's called Solar Opposites, and he voiced the main character of that. And I don't think he is doing that either. And here's the funny part. Here's the funny part. Comedy Central, Hulu, all these organizations, when these allegations first came out, basically immediately severed ties with him and called him a piece of crap, right? But now that he's been basically exonerated because he's innocent for all intents and purposes, he is innocent. They refuse to comment. They refuse to comment. Oh, so now that you're wrong, and now that he might sue you for, any number of reasons, because that's what I would do. I would turn around and sue these companies and be like, hey, you let me go for no reason. I'd be like, hey, look, whatever I could get them on, contract, them, breach of contract, or what's wrongful dismissal, wrongful termination, or whatever. Like, whatever I could get them on, I'd go for. Because this woman, and I'd sue her too, this woman ruined my life because of lying, false allegations. Now again, this is all under the assumption that he is innocent, which he is, for all intents and purposes. Because they didn't even take it to trial because there was not enough evidence. Again, I'm not saying that nothing ever happened in reality, right? But based on everything that we've seen, he's innocent, nothing happened. Sorry. If you have actual evidence, bring it forward. If he really did that, put him in jail. But as of right now, he didn't. So, but this is becoming a trend that we see more often. Women have no repercussions for doing this type of crap. Women can accuse you of doing this type of thing. And they don't get... Do they get arrested for false police reports? No. Do they end up in jail for the length of time that the person that they accused would have gotten? No. So why would they not lie about it? Because here's the thing. Women who get caught cheating, for instance, might lie and say, oh, well, he raped me, right? Because they're ashamed that they cheated. And this is a way to get sympathy or whatever. Now, mind you, I am not generalizing and I'm not saying all women. But I am saying that the type of pieces of crap that do stuff like this, these are some of the reasons why they would. They're afraid of losing what they have. If they've got a husband that makes a lot of money, right? In this case, this woman might be just seeking attention, right? Because she used to date this guy who was wildly successful, and now she's out of the limelight because she's now just an ex of this guy, and he's still wildly successful, right? So now she's bitter that she has nothing to show for it, so ruin his life because she doesn't like him, right? Or any number of other possible reasons. But there should be 100%, there should be repercussions for lying about something like this. If you submit a false report against someone of something like a serious crime like this, and it comes out that it was wrong or lied about or anything like that, if it comes out that you lied or, you misconstrued evidence or whatever, you should go to jail. You should go to jail for the same amount of time that that they would have gotten. But if it comes out later that she actually did lie and he didn't do anything and she was just trying to screw him over, she should go to jail. But this guy now has to get back to where he was, to what he lost. And it might not even be possible. These companies, once, here's the problem. His image is irreparably harmed, right? Because from now on, there will always be people that think that he did something. Even if it's all, even though it's come out that it's not true. So his image is irreparably harmed because anytime you Google him, something about this case might come up, right? And because of that, it may, result in him not getting career opportunities. It's hard to quantify exactly, what's going to happen. Now, he's famous. He's a co-creator of a very successful show, so he may actually fare better than the average person. But if this was a regular guy, like say me or any of you, for example, if this type of thing happened to you or me, we'd be ostracized from reality. You go to a job interview and they would find an article about you being arrested or charged or whatever, and even if you were innocent, a lot of places wouldn't even want to hire you. So you'd be screwed. And suing a normal person for restitution or whatever, good luck with that. You can't squeeze a rock. You can't squeeze blood out of a rock, right? So he's kind of out of luck as far as his reputation. With that being said, he may be able to get back to, doing the voices for Rick and Morty. It really comes down to whether or not Comedy Central is going to do the right thing and reinstate him, which they absolutely fucking should. I'm just tired of it, I'm really tired of all the crap that's been happening in this world. Speaking of crap that I am very much over, the Uvalde shooting. Now, we all know that it was a massive failure on the part of the Uvalde Police Department. We also know that it was a massive failure on the part of government in general. We also know that it was just unnecessary. A lot more people died that didn't have to die. And this shooting really drilled into me why it's so important for not just everybody to be armed, but also mental health to be focused on in this country. But the most important thing is hiring police officers that are not cowards. Because they were. The Uvalde Police Department was full of cowards. Now, we're going to take a look at an earlier article from, I want to say 2022, so last year, about what happened to some of the victims before I get into the new information that just came out. Because I want you guys to see the horror of what happened. Remind you of the horror of what happened before we hear the disgusting BS excuse from the Uvalde Police Department. Let's get into it, okay? So, Uvalde, Texas. Now, this is going to be kind of hard for some of you guys to listen to, but it's important that we talk about it. Bullets had pierced Bullets had pierced, I think it's Eva Morales' chest as she tried to shield students from a gunman's semi-automatic rifle. This woman, fucking hero. Fucking hero. The fact that she put her life on the line for these students. She is more of a hero than these fucking coward cops. But the fourth grade teacher at Robb Elementary was still conscious when police carried her out of classroom 112 and through a hallway crowded with dead and dying victims. You're fine, said her husband, a Uvalde School District police officer, Ruben Ruiz, who had been frantically trying to rescue her since the attack began. She looked at him but could not speak. She'd been losing blood for more than an hour. Officers placed her on the sidewalk just beyond one of the school's exits and started treating her wounds. A medic later told investigators he did not see any ambulances, though video footage showed two parked just past the corner of the building, about 100 feet away. The chaotic scene exemplified the flawed medical response that experts said undermined the chances of survival for some victims of the May 24th massacre. 2 teachers and 19 students died. Law enforcement's well-documented failure to confront the shooter who terrorized the school for 77 minutes was the most serious problem in getting victims timely care, but previously unreleased records obtained by ProPublica, the Texas Tribune, and the Washington Post for the first time show that communication lapses and muddled lines of authority among medical responders furthered hampered treatment. Now, part of this was a miscommunication and failure of communication by the medical teams, but 100% of the blame should be on the police for not intervening. They let all this crap happen over the course of, 77 minutes? And here's the thing. You had children in this... Here's the thing. You had children in this building just getting blown away. Right? Ridiculous. 3 victims who emerged from the school with a pulse later died. Another student, 9 years old. 9 years old, bro. Likely survived for more than an hour after being shot, and she died in transport. Now, this article is primarily talking about the medical response, but I think the important thing to note is that a lot of these people would have survived had it not been for the cowardice of the police department. Because here's the thing. First they said, the doors were locked. And we couldn't get in because the doors were locked. Then it came out that they never even tried to open the door. Then it was, we don't have the ability to go in there because we don't have riot shields or any of that crap. But then you see that they did have some. And they had ARs themselves. So it's lie after lie. They prevented, from my understanding, they prevented the police officer whose wife was a teacher from going and saving his wife. And if I remember correctly, his wife messaged him and said that she had been shot. And he tried to get in the building, and fellow officers prevented him from going into the building to save his wife. Then they sat around just watching and listening as children were slaughtered mere feet from them. I don't know how you, as a police officer, could sit there and listen to that crap as it went down without doing anything. You took an oath to serve and protect, and you did neither of those things. And it pisses me off. Because me, as a private citizen, if I had been, I don't have kids, but if I had kids, you would have had to arrest me to keep me from going in that building. And here's the thing. They did that. They detained parents who were trying to go in and save their own kids. They physically restrained another police officer whose wife was in there from going in and saving her. And she eventually died. And she might not have, because she was bleeding out for over an hour, just like that 9-year-old. So yeah, am I pissed off? I am pissed off about that. Anyway, so the new statement from the Uvalde shooting is this. He has a battle rifle. Police feared Uvalde gunman's AR-15. In previously unreleased interviews, police who responded to the Robb Elementary shooting told investigators they were cowed by the shooter's military-style rifle. First of all, an AR-15 is a civilian rifle, not a military rifle. It does not have select fire. But that's besides the point. It doesn't really matter what gun he was using. These police had more than enough people to take that guy down with violence of action. Once they saw a torrent of bullets tear through a classroom wall and metal door, the first police officers in the hallway of Robb Elementary School concluded they were outgunned and that they could die. What? I've seen the video from the hallway where these cops were sitting there, cowards, just sitting there. Multiple ones of them had AR-15s. Multiple of them had the stupid shields. And they sat there and did nothing. They were not outgunned. One guy with an AR-15 against, I think it was like at least 4 of them had AR-15s, if I remember correctly. Even if there was only 2 police officers with AR-15s and everyone else had a handgun, they still outgunned this guy. And I'm sorry, but, and that they could die? Yeah, you're a police officer. You could die on the job every single day. You could pull a guy over, walk up to the car window, look in there and go, license and registration, and get blown away. But you do that every day when it's unknown, when you have no idea if that person's going to react that way. But in this case, you know he's a threat. You know he's killing children. You know, and you have the tools to take him down. You're all wearing body armor. And I'm sorry, if you're wearing if your kits do not include level 4 plates, then that is a failure on the police department to equip these police with the correct equipment. Okay? Now, the gunman had an AR-15. And supposedly it would have gone through their body armor like it was paper, which means they're wearing piece of crap Kevlar that only stops handgun bullets. And I'm sorry, but if you're reacting to a school shooting, especially if you're a school resource officer or you're reacting to a school shooting, you should have the kit available to react to that. Level 4 plates. Doesn't really matter what kind of plates, metal, ceramic, whatever, but they should be able to take a rifle bullet. They grazed two officers in the head. Group retreated. Uvalde Police Department the sergeant Daniel Coronado stepped outside, breathing heavily, and got on his radio to warn the others. I have a male subject with an AR. Dispatch crackled on the radio of another officer on the other side of the building. Fuck, that officer said. AR, exclaimed another. Almost a year after the Texas deadly shooting that killed 19 children and 2 teachers, there's still confusion among investigators, law enforcement leaders, and politicians over how nearly 400 law enforcement officers could have performed so poorly. People blame cowardice and poor leadership or lack of sufficient training for why police waited more than an hour to breach the classroom and subdue an amateur 18-year-old adversary. But in their own words, during and after the botched response, the officers pointed to another reason. They were unwilling to confront the rifle on the other side of the door. Texas Star Tribune investigation based on police body cameras, emergency communication, and interviews with investigators that have not been made public, found officers had concluded that immediately confronting the gunman would be too dangerous. Even though some officers were armed with the same rifle, they opted to wait for the arrival of a Border Patrol SWAT team with more protective body armor, stronger shields, and more tactical training, even though the unit was based more than 60 miles away. So this right here says, to me, that the Uvalde Police Department did not plan for this type of event. They were incapable of doing it because they were cowards who were not willing to put their lives on the line like they swore to do, simply because they might get shot. Now, it's also on the actual police department for not having the correct protective body armor, because I don't know about you, but all police should have level 4. All police should have level 4. I understand that it's heavier, and I understand that most of what they run into is pistols, but not having level 4 body armor is a problem. And having to wait for a Border Patrol SWAT team to drive 60 miles, that's an hour wait time. An hour wait time. Going 60 to 70 miles an hour, that's between 45 minutes and an hour wait time, depending on traffic. Probably more than that. The Uvalde Police Department says we weren't equipped to make entry into that room without several casualties. Once we found out it was a rifle he was using, it was a different game plan we would have had to come up with. It wasn't just going in guns blazing, the Old West style, and take them out. Excuse me, what? Number one, the reason that I say that this excuse is utter bullshit is because they lied repeatedly. They lied about the door being locked. Why would you do that if you had this excuse? If you had the excuse of, hey, we didn't have the equipment, we couldn't, why would you lie about the door being locked? It wasn't because of the equipment. Maybe partially, but no. See, here's the thing. There are multiple officers, including the one whose wife died in this, who were willing to take the risk of going in there and stopping this murderer. Right? And they were not equipped just like the rest of these guys supposedly weren't. But they were willing to put their lives on the line for others. For one guy, his wife. For one or two other officers, if I remember correctly, it was because they knew it was the right thing to do. But they were stopped by other officers who physically restrained them. So no, this was not about the equipment. It was about cowardice. That hesitation to confront the gun allowed the gunman to terrorize students and teachers in 2 classrooms for more than an hour without interference from police. It delayed medical care for more than 2 dozen gunshot victims, including 3 who were still alive when the Border Patrol team finally ended the shooting, but who later died. Mass shooting protocols adopted by law enforcement nationwide say officers have to stop the attacker as soon as possible. But police in other mass shootings, including Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. So when it comes to stuff like this, man, I get heated because, one, because a lot of people died, and they shouldn't have. There was at least, based on this, 4 people who might have actually survived. Maybe more, I don't know, because I don't know exactly how many of them were shot in that time. Because the entire time it was happening, there were gunshots going off. So maybe, had they gone in immediately, the death toll would have been like 5. That's still too much, but it's better than 19 and 2 teachers. The failure of the other reason that I get a little pissed is because people who champion gun control like to say that it's the gun. It's not the gun. This 18-year-old who went in there and did this was mentally unwell. And if gun control did anything, we wouldn't see this in other states that have had mass shootings like this, that have higher gun control. We've seen in multiple states where it didn't matter what the gun control was, this stuff still happened. So it's not about the gun control, it's not about the gun. It's about the mental health and the response to these events. But gun control activists love to use stuff like this to try and take away the guns. If he had been using a handgun, like in, I believe it was Virginia Tech, outcome probably still would have been the same. Because the law enforcement was probably still afraid. And the reason I say that is some of you might be like, well, if he had a pistol or whatever and he was doing this, they would have gone in and stopped him. And to that I say, bullshit. And the reason I say bullshit is because of the amount of lies that they use as excuses as to why they couldn't go in there prior to landing on this excuse of, oh, well, he had an AR-15, so, we couldn't deal with it. They lied about the door. They lied about the response time. They lied about the number of officers. They stopped people from going in who were willing to put their lives on the line. So, to me, it says that it was all about cowardice, and it had nothing to do with that. Of course, people will call for gun control. People will want to limit law-abiding citizens. They will do everything to not address the other problems that we just haven't addressed for 20, 30 years, which is mental health. Why did this kid do what he did, and is there a way to prevent him from doing it? Because if he really wanted to kill people, he would have, if AR-15s weren't available, he would have used handguns. He would have used a bomb. He would have used not a knife. Like, he could have used any number of other implements to do it. The basis for why it happened is his mental health. And that is something that needs to be talked about. It's never addressed. It's never brought up more than, well, this could be a reason. And everyone jumps to gun control. Everyone jumps to all these other things. But no one wants to admit that the police were cowards, that this kid had mental issues that might have been solved. And here's the other thing. People will be like, oh, well, gun control activists will hold two opinions that make no goddamn sense. They will say, well, we think that AR-15 should be banned and that only police should have them because only the government can protect us. And then the government does some bullshit like this and doesn't protect. Doesn't engage. It took Border Patrol. Hardened guys that regularly get in incidents along the border to come and do something. Now that's not to say that all police are bad or that all, law enforcement is problematic or unequipped or cowards. But it is to say that we have seen far too many of these instances, and I believe that police need to be vetted more for this exact reason. Now, speaking of police, even though the police did a poor job in this instance, not all police can be painted with the same brush. And that's a problem with today, is that police tend to be painted with the same brush. After all of the stuff with police brutality and the Uvalde shooting and just other stuff, people want to paint all police with the same negative connotation, and they can't look individually at things and go, oh, hey, this was bad, but, this was good, or, they want to blame the police for everything. And with that, we'll talk about our final story, which a lot of people have gotten really pissed about. And I don't know why, because it's not really the guy's fault, So we'll get into that next story here. A man who was killed in a hit and run while fighting with a deputy. Again, very sad that he died. He shouldn't have died, but a lot of people are blaming the police for it. And I don't think that it's the police's fault. So we'll read this story here real quick, and then I'll show you the video and tell you why I don't think it was the officer's fault. Okay. Okay, guys. So here's the thing. Man killed in hit and run while fighting with a deputy. In Tucson, Arizona, a human smuggling suspect died after he was hit by a vehicle while fighting with a Cochise County deputy who was trying to detain him. According to authorities, the deputy stopped the man's 2018 Nissan Altima about 10 a.m. Sunday, December 18th on Highway 92. 10 a.m. I think that's supposed to say 10 p.m. because the video was at night. So I really doubt it was 10 a.m. Just south of Sierra Vista. The man was found to be carrying undocumented immigrants in his car, and U.S. Border Patrol was also called to the scene. In the video, the man refused to comply with the deputy's commands, and an altercation ensued. Basically, the guy resisted arrest. While the deputy was trying to handcuff the man, a vehicle headed north sped by, hitting the man and narrowly missing the deputy. The man was taken to Canyon Vista Medical Center, where he was pronounced dead, and they couldn't identify him as of Monday afternoon. Deputy was not injured. Fentanyl was found near the vehicle, and as anyone can imagine, this is an emotional and stressful scenario for any law enforcement professional. Please keep our deputy in your thoughts and prayers as part of our family. Daniels was quoted as saying, I believe he's the chief. So you'll see in the video, I'll show you the video, and mind you, it's graphic in the shock content, but you don't actually see a dead body or anything like that. So I'm pretty sure it'll be fine for YouTube. But it is shocking. So here's the video.
Hey! car. Lean up against the car. Lean up against. Drop your phone.
All right, well,
Drop your phone. Fucking swinging. Hands behind your back. Hands behind your back. Hands behind your back. Get your hand behind your back.
I never swung at you.
Stop.
I'm not doing anything. What the?
Stop. Oh my God.
Okay, guys, you just watched the video, and you can see that he pulls the guy over. Guy's immediately non-compliant. They get in a fight. And if you've ever been in a fight with anybody, you know that you don't get to dictate where that fight goes, how quickly it goes to the ground, or anything like that. And here's the other thing. As a law enforcement officer, I've never been in law enforcement, but I do security work. I do executive protection work. If you get in an altercation with somebody and you go to the ground and you're trying to detain them, it is immediately a fight for your life. Because once they fight you, you have weapons on your utility belt. Okay? Now, whether or not they're reaching for your weapons, it's still in play. Because they're being non-compliant, and the longer that fight goes on, the higher the escalation becomes. And this guy was alone. This deputy was alone against one person, right? It's not like he had a partner helping him out. So he's alone fighting this guy on the ground. Now, I'm not saying that this guy was or was not reaching for the deputy's weapons. What I'm saying is, once it gets to that point where there is an altercation, you have to be cognizant of that. Because now you're sitting there going, okay, if I pull out my baton or I pull out my taser to try to tase this guy, now this weapon's in play and readily accessible, right? In addition to that, even if I don't pull that out, if this guy combats me for long enough and I get tired, then he could, overpower me, take my weapons. This is a dangerous situation. So you're not thinking about what's happening around you, right? You are solely focused on getting this guy into custody, handcuffing him, and making sure that he is not a threat anymore. Because as of right now, he kind of is. So you're not really paying attention to everything going on, right? So the fact that this deputy was paying attention somewhat to what's going on, and that's what saved his life, because he noticed that a car was not slowing down. Unfortunately, because his attention was on the subject and not on his surroundings, he only saw it at the last second. In the video, it looks like the car is far away, but based on the time from when the video sees the headlights and the guy, and he jumps out of the way, it was like 2 seconds, right? That is not enough time to do really anything. And a lot of comments on the TikTok video that I showed were talking about, oh, well, this police officer could have at least dragged him out of the way. Why was he fighting him in the middle of the street? Well, it's because that's where the fight ended up. He pulled him over on the shoulder, but there wasn't really a shoulder. It's like a 2-lane road, it looks like. So in reality, he wasn't even on the shoulder. The car was half on the pavement, half off the pavement. So when the fight started, they were in the middle of the street already, just being on the outside of the car. And then when the fight went to the ground, they're on the yellow line in the middle. And if you've ever been on a 2-lane street, you know that when you're passing, you have to go into the opposite lane, which means you have to cross over the yellow lines in the middle, right? And my bet is, because it was a hit and run, that this other car was also possibly smuggling migrants as well. So, if you've ever come across police that are on the side of the highway, you know that it's actually kind of hard to see in the distance when his lights are on, when the blues and reds are flashing. It's actually kind of hard to see what's going on. So, the driver of the vehicle that struck this guy probably didn't see until the last second because it does not look like he slowed down, not even a little bit. So, he probably thought, okay, the cops, on the side of the road, I'll just go around. And it probably wasn't until he was within 30, 40 feet of the altercation taking place on the ground that he saw that there were people there. No time to stop. And if he was carrying migrants, he's not going to stop, even if he hit the guy, which is why this is a hit and run. I'm only speculating here. Or some other criminal activity. He's not going to stop. He's just going to plow through the guy and then be like, oh shit, I hit somebody. Okay, but he's not going to stop. He's going to keep going. Right? With that in mind, this deputy had enough time to get out of the way. But if you've ever tried to drag somebody, like physically drag somebody, you know it's hard. Anything more than like 70 pounds is really hard to move when you're laying or crouched on the ground. So this deputy sees this car coming, has 2 seconds to make a decision. Do I try to drag this guy and we both get hit by this car, or get out of the way? And he got out of the way. You can't blame this deputy for this guy's death. This guy was combative. He didn't listen. He caused an altercation with a police officer that ended up in the middle of the road. And you can tell by the reaction of the deputy that he's going to have PTSD from this. Because he was shocked. Just the sound of his voice, I mean, he's shocked by what just happened. And that car was going so fast that the subject was there, car passes by, subject is gone. Like, the car didn't even just run him over, it drug him. Because it was moving so fast, this guy he's not even in the frame of the video anymore. So yeah, the guy died. But people blaming the officer for this are in the wrong. You cannot blame the police officer for what happened. He was doing his job. He was doing his best. And sometimes things like this happen. This is not the equivalent of those officers that like put that lady in the back seat of the car and then parked it on train tracks and then the train hit the car. It's not the same thing. Okay? Those officers were negligent, right? This officer was in the middle of a fight when something happened, and he had to save his own life to get out of the way. It's unfortunate that this other individual died because of this, but again, it is not the police officer's fault. Law enforcement is a hard job. And like I've said, I don't dislike all police. I don't like to shit on police, but there are times to do it, like in the case of Uvalde, and there are times not to do it, like in the case of the Sierra Vista incident. So, guys, you have to give law enforcement some credit, and just like anything, you only criticize them when there's a reason to criticize, okay? With that being said, that is it for today. On a lighter note, Bluff Springs, very good whiskey, especially when paired with the state drink of Texas, Dr. Pepper. However, the cigar I was smoking, this one here, what was it again? It's the Sungrove Petite Corona. Now, I don't know if it's just my humidor, if the cigar was too wet, or if the cigar was too tightly packed or something like that, but it did not want to stay lit. I mean, I relit this thing like 4 times, and I cut it a couple times. It's not a bad cigar. For a medium to dark cigar, it's relatively smooth. But it just did not want to stay lit. I don't know why. Maybe you guys can tell me in the comments if you know anything about this particular cigar and why it's hard to stay lit. But anyway, guys, I appreciate you guys for watching. You know, let me know in the comments down below, you know, what you think of the Uvalde shooting. What do you think of the Sierra Vista incident? And, you know, what do you think about Justin Roiland and the whole Trump thing that's going on? Let me hear your opinions, guys. You know, because I'm looking for that engagement with the audience, you know. Anyway, with that being said, go ahead, like and subscribe, because that'll really help me out. And let me know, you know, if you guys are enjoying the afterwork show. Anyway, guys, I appreciate all of you, and I will see you guys next time. Have a good one.